Let me introduce Harpreet Saini. Harpreet is a second-year master's student of biology and neuroscience at York University. And she's going to speak on the color of the flesh attenuates its mislocation in the flesh jump illusion.
Okay, thank you for that, Shlomit. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so Bayesian models of perception can be used to explain and understand how color differentially modulates different perceptual and attentional processes in the visual system. In a Bayesian framework, the strength of a color can bias the weight of its priors, resulting in different behavioral outcomes. And previous studies have found an attentional color hierarchy, which has been shown to modulate various cognitive processes such as target selection, visual search, and response inhibition. However, these color effects have been found for later stage decision-making processes. But in our study, we wanted to investigate whether color-dependent modulations also affect lower-level perceptual processes, such as feature integration within a Bayesian framework. To test this, we use the flash jump paradigm, which is a visual illusion that integrates apparent motion with color. This perceptual misbinding is proposed to be due to a Bayesian framework. So when you've got an apparent motion sequence of moving bars, one of the bars changes color at a single position along its trajectory. And this color change is perceived to occur farther along the trajectory of the bar's motion at a later occurring bar instead of the bar where it actually occurred on. And this is a mislocalization of feature integration between color and motion. Interestingly, no one has manipulated the color of the flash to see its effect on the magnitude of the illusion, which is what we tried here in this study. So we hypothesized that if perception is based on a Bayesian framework, then we would expect that the stronger the attentional strength of a color, the more veridical the perception of flash location. So we would see reduced mislocalizations. And in our paradigm, participants fixated at a cross for 200 milliseconds, and then an apparent motion sequence of 20 gray bars was presented, which either moved leftwards or rightwards. And one of the central 11 bars flashed one of 4 colors: isoluminant red, green, yellow, or blue. And after the sequence, after that color flash, the sequence returns to gray and it continues. And after the sequence is presented, participants were asked to report the location of this color change by clicking with the cursor that appeared on the screen. And on a subset of trials randomly interleaved, we also presented the terminated condition. In this terminated condition, once this flash or this color change appears, the motion sequence is terminated such that the subsequent bars are not presented. And previous studies have shown that in this terminated condition, there's little to, if any, shift in perceived location of the flash, because there are no later occurring bars to mislocalize this flash or this color change to. So this condition, this terminated condition, served as our control. The 2 metrics that we looked at for this study were accuracy and precision. And accuracy was defined as the mean shift between the real location of the flash and the perceived location of the flash. And precision was the trial by trial variability in the perceived location. And we looked at both these metrics for all 4 isoluminant colors. So I'll begin with the results from our accuracy analysis first. Note that positive values correspond to a forward shift or forward mislocalization along the direction of motion of the bar. And as expected, we found little to no shifts in the terminated condition, which was the control, and very large shifts in the continuing condition. And more importantly, when we looked within the continuing condition, we found that the magnitude of the shift varies depending on the color of the flash. here we saw that red and blue flashes were less shifted than green and yellow. And similarly, for precision, we found that red and blue flashes result in more precise predictions of flash location compared to green and yellow. And that matches the pattern of effects that we found for our shift analysis. So in conclusion, here in our study, we've shown that participants demonstrated improved accuracy and improved precision for localizing red and blue flashes compared to green and yellow. And this is further support that perception and feature integration follows a Bayesian framework, because the colors that we've tested for were all isoluminant. So we shouldn't have seen any differences in the magnitude of the illusion based on color. However, our results here have shown that the color of the flash biases the strength of the priors, resulting in different levels of mislocalizations based on the inherent strength of the color. In our case, red and blue produce stronger priors than green and yellow. And lastly, based on previous work by Sundberg et al., we would expect to find these color-dependent modulations of the flash jump effect in V4, but that would require further neuroimaging or recording studies. Okay, and I'd like to thank all you guys for attending, and thank you to my lab and my lab mates. I'm open to any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you very much, Harpreet. Yes, we're waiting for questions. One question here from David Johns. What do you expect to see if the color change occurred at the start of the sequence?
Okay, so give me 1 second if I can. Okay, so if, I guess the question is if the color change occurred at the beginning of the sequence instead of occurring at one of the central 11 positions, I would expect that we would still see the flash illusion. We would still, the effect will still persist, because previous studies on motion-based induced or motion-induced position shifts have shown that this effect still persists even if the flash is occurring at the beginning of the sequence or somewhere in the middle, but it doesn't persist if the flash was the last occurring bar in the terminated sequence. So if this flash occurred at the first bar, given that color and motion are processed in different systems and processed at different rates, the color information would be processed slower, so then it would be mislocalized or misbound to a later occurring bar somewhere down the sequence. So I would probably expect that this effect would still persist. Okay.
Hey, another question here from Nikki, which says, good presentation. You mentioned that previous studies have shown a hierarchy of color differences. Is there a reason why both red and blue are more accurate instead of only one color? Okay.
So I think the effects that the pattern of color effects that we're seeing here could be related to color opponency. The colors that we have tested for are all opponent colors. And so red versus green is an opponent pair, and blue versus yellow is the other opponent pair. We're proposing that red and blue are the stronger colors out of their respective opponent pairs, and that information gets fed into V4 because V4 receives color opponency information. And previous work by Sundberg et al. Have found neural correlates of this flash jump illusion in V4. So we're proposing that this color dependent modulation is probably due to color opponency information that's feeding into V4. I hope that answers their question.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions?
Oh, I have a question about, you mentioned these colors were equiluminant, right?
Yep.
Do you think it matters whether you move from a white stimulus, which is more luminous, down to one of these? Because I seem to notice that like yellow and green are typically, as we typically see them, are more luminant than red and blue.
Right. We haven't tested. So are you suggesting that the flash is a white color and then the rest of the bars are gray? Did I interpret that?
I don't know what your stimulus. I thought it would be white and then suddenly a color.
So the rest of the bars are gray, and they're also matched in isoluminance to the colors of the flash bars. So everything is isoluminant. The gray bars and the flash bars.
Right. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
I also have a quick question. So in your subjects, you have 24 subjects. Did you ever see a case where it was switched, or was it a very consistent across all 24 subjects that red and blue were, yeah.
Okay, so you're saying how consistent was this pattern across 24? This particular pattern, I looked individually, and this was consistent for 21 out of 24 participants. So I would probably guess that's pretty consistent. And just participants, the pattern was switched, I think, for one of the colors.
Right. Yeah, I'd be curious to see if there are certain people with like specific types of color blindness or like color blindness or like color perception that this case might be switched. But yeah.
So actually, we test for color deficiency before we do these experiments by using Ishihara plates, so like a quick test for color deficiency. And if they don't perform well on that test, then we exclude those participants from the study.
I see.
Thank you. And David Jones just followed up with another question. Thank you for the answer. I am familiar with the flash lag effect. Is this flash jump illusion similar to the flash lag effect?
Is this flash jump? Okay. So yes, flash lag is probably the more well-researched and well-studied of these types of illusions, but they're both fall under the category of motion-induced position shifts. The difference would be that for flash lag, there's two separate stimuli. So there's a moving stimuli, and then there's moving stimulus, and there's a static stimulus, right? And the static stimulus is the one that's flashed very briefly as the moving stimulus moves across the screen. In the flash jump illusion, there's only one stimulus, which is the moving bar, and the color change occurs within that moving bar. So it's a problem of feature integration between the motion of the bar and then the color change that happens. So I guess that would be the difference, but they do fall under the same category of motion-induced position shifts.
Okay, do you have other questions? Harpreet, let me ask you the question that I asked the call before. What stage are you at with this work?
So we're still in the writing and drafting stage. I'm just finalizing how to present this with my supervisor and my co-authors, but we should be submitting this for publication soon.
That's great for a master's degree.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I want to thank everyone again, and thank you for all the great questions. I think it was a nice and interesting discussion. Good luck, everyone, with publications and with the work, and see you later.
All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.